Hi, I'm Mundo, your one and only man of world, and this is the Zelda Universe podcast. Today we are going to talk about Majora's Mask and Majora's Mask 3D, and we have two guests with us today, so go ahead, gentlemen, and introduce yourselves.
Hello there, I'm Alex. I edit these podcasts.
And I'm Lyndon, and I am the creator and administrator of the recent Operation Moonfall poster campaign on Kickstarter.
So how's that Kickstarter going?
It went.
Did you win yet?
Did I win yet? Yeah, I came out all right. No, it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of support, and thanks for the promotion on that. By the way, that was a big help. But I mean, yeah, a lot of people chipped in, and the posters are all complete now. I want to say about 75 have been shipped out. The rest are sitting in stacks in my apartment, so okay. Looks a little bit like a warehouse right now, but they look fantastic.
Okay, that's cool. So, what are you, like, as someone, I guess, who's been involved a bit with Moonfall, what do you hope to achieve? What's your end goal?
Well, I mean, the obvious end goal here for everyone is that there would be some kind of high dimension or HD port or remake of Majora's Mask, right? Kind of like the same thing that happened with Ocarina of Time. So I mean, I know that I've been hoping for that ever since I found out that they were doing that for Ocarina. Especially because so many of the, assuming that it would be made for the 3DS, knowing that so many of the models and assets for the game could be moved really easily into Majora's Mask because, I mean, so many of those models in the original game were reused from Ocarina. So, I mean, that the Operation Moonfall in and of itself, I think, is giving a name to a lot of people who feel like being really vocal about wanting this thing to happen. And I feel like since the conversation kind of started on the internet about, okay, would people actually want a remake of Majora's Mask, the internet has kind of figured out that, yeah, a lot of people really want that, and there are a lot of really good reasons why Nintendo should do it, both from a standpoint of filling out the product catalog on their existing hardware, and because of what Majora's Mask means to the Zelda universe as a whole, right?
I guess I would go ahead and ask, well, both of you then. I want to know what in particular makes you want Majora's Mask to be remade, other than the reason that it would be really easy for them to make it with Ocarina of Time 3D already released. What in particular makes Majora's Mask the game that you want to see above all the other? I mean, we had a Wind Waker remake, right?
Yeah.
And that was great.
Great, if not a little unexpected, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. It was a bit unexpected, but so why would a Majora's Mask be in any way preferential to any other game?
For me personally, I didn't really get much into Majora's Mask until like years after it's been released. I didn't really play the game much since like at that time the 64 was like declining and going to the GameCube era. That's kind of where I got my kick into video gaming a lot more. I didn't really know much about the game at first, but once I got it for the first time, like by myself, and I sat down and played it, the game was just like really good. I mean, there's a lot of like details and like extra oomph that they put into the game to like push the 64 even further than Ocarina of Time did. Majora's Mask tackles a lot of good links that you can connect to in real life as well. And a game like that is just very, very amazing.
You bring up some good points. Majora's Mask isn't the kind of epic adventure a la Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. It's more close to home.
Exactly.
In some ways. And also, I think because it came out so late in the N64's lifespan, not that many people got to experience it. And because it didn't especially compared to Ocarina of Time, it didn't sell all that well.
Yeah, of course. because I think Ocarina of Time came out just around the 64's like earlier years, like 98, right?
Yeah, it was in the first
Yeah.
2.5. It was in the first 2.5 ish years. Yeah.
And not to mention, how much did 64 game cartridges cost back in the earlier years? Like $40.
I was thinking like
forgot.
45.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And plus, and I'm sure people were wanting to spend money on other things in life, especially like to get ready for the GameCube to come out just after Majora's Mask was released. Like those two dates were like really close to each other, so obviously priorities were going for the new gen.
One of the things that we kind of did talk about already is Majora's Mask, and like how it's different from other Zeldas. Like you have the whole side quest heavy portion. I mean, there aren't a lot of dungeons in the game, and you can complete it really fast probably if you just you run from one dungeon to the next. But there's so much to do in Clock Town. There's so many people to get to know, and there's so much exploration to be done.
Yes.
And I think it's a bit different from all the other Zelda games that do focus a lot on collecting all these items to be able to progress further and keep on going from one dungeon to the next. I think especially Twilight Princess, which had like close to a dozen dungeons or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah.
Also, an interesting thing about the GOT battle. I just like to add to Majora's Mask's defense, like how in depth it is. It's kind of funny how the English version adds a part of the cutscene where the battle starts, where Link gets trampled on him. That's kind of cruel because that wasn't in the Japanese version, and Japanese would do something like that, but they didn't. So why would English do that? That's not. I have no idea, but that's kind of interesting.
That's really strange. I had never heard that before.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, we learn a lot on this podcast.
It's like it's the little things in Majora's Mask that make it overall an awesome game.
I think one of the reasons that Majora's Mask as a game leaves such an impression on you is because of all those little nuances that a lot of other Zelda games lack. I mean, I would argue that there's not a bad Zelda game, right? Or at least not one made by Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this game in particular, it was kind of relatable in a way that a lot of the others weren't. And it seems like the focus was entirely changed, right? Like, you say you get the Fierce Deity mask and you get to the moon and the boss fight is completely kind of broken, right? It can be done really quick. And I think that little things like that just kind of give into the whole complete change of focus from what Ocarina of Time was. Ocarina of Time was all about this big epic good versus evil conflict, and that all capped off with the Ganon battle, which was hard, and it just brought all of that to a head. With Majora's Mask, you get in and you fight the mask, and it's a much more intimate kind of affair, right?
Yeah, because basically Majora's Mask is not just about good and evil, basically, but like you're in a world where it's destined to be destroyed, and then you're the hero that comes out of nowhere to counteract that.
Yeah, and I would say too that I read on the forums, on the Zelda Universe forums a while back, and someone had this thought or theory, or call it whatever, that it almost seems that Majora or Skull Kid is almost like a darker reflection of the player, because he does a lot of irrational things. Like he does a lot of things just to, he messes around. He has no, I mean, he has a purpose and he has some like deeper meaning and why he's doing all those things. But like he's very playful, and he's messing with a lot of people just because, just because he can. And which sometimes we as players do in a game. You go into when you start playing a game, and you meet NPCs and stuff, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna hit them with my sword to see if I can hurt them. Okay, no, I can't. Well, maybe I can, do some other mischief, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how Skull Kid behaves.
Huh.
And I thought that was kind of really interesting to think of it that way. The way that Skull Kid is designed is they've kind of given him a personality in a sense. Like you can almost feel that he is an actor. Like he's out there and he's doing things, and he's sometimes doing very irrational things, and you can't quite understand him. And because of that, he is intimidating. And I think that really culminates with, the mask being transported up to the moon, and you're going up there after it, expecting this dark final battle, and then you just come to this serene meadow, and everything is super peaceful and beautiful, and then there's just like some kids playing around, and one just sitting there looking at you with the Majora's Mask, and it's super creepy, and you're like, what do I help me, and it's sort of like Skull Kid, and even like the game is messing with you in a sense, like it's toying a bit with you, it's playing a game with you, and that's what the Majora's Mask kid says, like, oh, do you want to play a game? When you're about to fight him,
right? Yeah, and I mean that it's just another piece of that whole surreal puzzle that is the entire game. It's all very psychological, kind of dream world-esque in a lot of ways, and that's obviously the culmination of all of those themes throughout the game. Everything else was pretty much grounded in reality, but there's just this kind of pervading sense of the fantastic, right? And then you get to the moon, and then it all comes to a head. You're in this like really symbolic, like you said, empty field where there's kids, running around with the masks on. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I think one thing that also kind of helps pulling that feeling home is that you yourself have a lot of masks. I'm sure you have your favorite masks.
Yeah.
My favorite was just the bunny ears, because it would make me run faster, and that was nice.
And it's...
But other than that, I really like the I don't know what it's called, but there's like a bird.
The Bremen mask.
Bremen mask, yeah.
I don't know.
It is...
And then I also like the skeleton mask.
The Kita mask.
Is it?
Or the captain's hat.
Oh, the captain's hat.
Yeah, the captain's hat. The captain's hat. And yeah. And then finally the one, is it the... it's the one that you can wear in a kind of valley, and things will attack you. The little ghost thingies.
The Don Garros mask, is that it?
Yeah, I think so. It's just kind of a cloak with green eyes.
No, that was the frog one.
Oh, you're right.
The one you're talking about is the what was it? It's not the Gibdo mask. That was the mummy one.
Yeah.
The other one. Can't remember it.
Isn't it Garo's mask?
Garo's mask.
Okay.
Mask, yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, no, just because it made Link look cool.
Creepy, too.
That was like a lot of masks had some sort of function.
Some of them were useless,
but not necessarily all the time. Like the bunny ears, they were good all the time, right? But some of them you just had to use for one or two side quests. But you could wear them just for decoration.
Wearing different masks will actually change what NPCs say to you if you wear those masks.
Yeah. That's really cool too.
Because I
like that a lot.
I recently just finished playing the game again. At first I didn't find any use for the couple's mask, but once I put it on and I talked to a little boy, he said, "My mom and dad have that mask." I was like, that's really neat.
Yeah, talking about like all the different masks that are in the game and everything, it's just super weird to think about how that came about in the first place, because Ocarina of Time had masks. They had a little mask side quest, but aside from eventually getting you the Eye of Truth mask or whatever that was, like they didn't.
Eye of Truth.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. They didn't really do much.
Yeah.
But then you have Majora's Mask, which, from what I remember reading about it, was kind of a rush game, right? And so I'm pretty sure that they didn't develop Ocarina of Time with the intention of making a very mask heavy game later, right?
I don't think so.
No.
But what usually happens with Nintendo is that they will have a lot of ideas going into a game, and then a lot of that gets cut.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they feel like, hey, we actually kind of have a lot here, and they kind of build upon that for a sequel. I think they
Yeah.
use that as a justification, or justification is a harsh word, but they told like that's the reason that they want to make Mario Galaxy 2, because they had so many ideas for the Galaxy game, and there was just they couldn't put all of it in the original Galaxy. So they're like, all right, just make Galaxy 2, and Galaxy 2 was amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On that topic, actually, like, I'm pretty sure it's obvious that Ocarina of Time was also had some rush too because they couldn't get everything they wanted in that game because there was supposed to be an ice temple, but they couldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah, and well, yeah, and was there supposed to be nice? I know there was supposed to be like a Temple of Light.
Oh yeah, the Temple of Time.
Yeah, I know that.
But
that originally you were supposed to be able to find the Triforce in it too at some point.
Yeah, didn't happen.
No.
Yeah, but that's that's just commonplace like in game development. Like you
Right.
start out with like a lot of things, and then you just slim down and say, like, okay, what are the most necessary and the best parts? Because if you just keep on making everything you want, then you'll end up with Duke Nukem Forever.
Right.
So, but I was gonna say, like going on Wind Waker HD, like, or in Wind Waker in general, there was supposed to be a third dungeon to go to get Nehru's Pearl, but they cut that and like made that sidetrack to find Jaboon.
Yeah.
So
he just kind of gives it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after like traveling the ocean for minutes and minutes.
Right.
So I'm just thinking like how come like since they didn't add that temple in the HD version, because obviously that would like change the story completely. Because so that would suck, or that sucks because of that. So I'm just thinking like if they make Majora's Mask, or if or when they make Majora's Mask 3D, like would they change anything? What could they change or add in that they couldn't do back in their old production of it on the 64?
See, I don't know that they would. I don't know that there would be a lot for them to put in. I mean, the obvious reaction is to say, hey, we could use more dungeons, right? Because there were only 4. But when you look at Majora's Mask for what it is, it's actually kind of a complete package, right?
Yeah.
You have all of these. You have all the different areas of Termina represented, right? You have a dungeon in each. You've got all of the intimate and personally relatable side quests, and maybe it's not the longest Zelda game that there ever was, but as its own story, I mean, I think that it functions really well on its own, and I can't help but think that adding more dungeons simply because people said, hey, this game needs more dungeons, I think that might be kind of like useless padding. I mean, if they're awesome dungeons, then I mean, okay, I don't want to get pulled out of the narrative because they felt like they had to have more stuff in it that wasn't necessarily always meant to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
And they can't really add any more dungeons in this game particularly, because that's also going to alter the story too, because there's 4 giants. Like, are there going to be like 5 giants, 10 giants, 11 giants?
Right.
No, we're not doing that.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't do anything like that, but I imagine something like in the Game Boy version of Link to the Past, that's the 4 swords,
Yeah.
the Temple of the 4 Sword, something like that. What if you were to just you're playing Majora's Mask 3D, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like walking around and you see something in Clock Town that's like different. You're like, okay, well, they changed something up, and then as you get like one new mask or something.
Yeah,
and then you notice like this one spot in Clock Town, and you try on this new mask, and then it turns out like, I don't know, let's say it's just the Minish mask, and you can like shrink down and you can enter this little hole, and then you find a whole like dungeon under Clock Town. And it's like it's completely optional, and it's just it gives you I don't know, some sort of bonus thing,
or
maybe like a new sword
or
a new shield
or piece of heart, because like that did happen for the HD version of Wind Waker. They like changed some stuff around. They gave you the hero's mask and the trials on Outside Island, and they put that piece of heart away to like a new treasure map. So they could do something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, and there are certain little things like that they can do. But I don't expect them to. Just because they didn't do it with Wind Waker, they didn't do it with Ocarina of Time, which I was really hoping that they would, add something that they planned to put in the original Ocarina of Time. Or even just, a mini dungeon somewhere, like a bonus thing. Or maybe like a third Master Quest with remade dungeons. That's something they could do, by the way, for Majora's Mask 3D. They could just remake the dungeons a little bit, like kind of a Majora's Mask Master Quest.
That'd be awesome, actually.
At
Yeah.
at the very least,
think-
you have to believe they're going to include hero mode. I mean, that's been kind of standard lately.
Yeah, hero mode, I think for sure, but that's more like, hey, here's another difficulty setting and a boss rush mode, and it's like, it's nice, but it feels like, they could have done so much more with it, and something like a Master Quest would be so nice to see. But I think they're just gonna take the Ocarina of Time path, and they're gonna upgrade the visuals, and they're gonna fix a few things here and there that weren't perhaps optimized in the original.
Mm-hmm.
It's been so long since I played a game, so I can't give any examples of what that would be.
Well, it'll be something like in Ocarina of Time 3D, it was the little things, right? You would go into like the Temple of Time, and you look at a screenshot of the Temple of Time on the 3DS versus the N64, and like you thought that it looked the exact same before you compared them, and but then you look at them side by side, and you're like, oh man, they're like pillars and arches, and it actually looks like a temple now, and just kind of stuff like that. And Majora's Mask, I mean, has a lot of potential there. They took a lot of really bold artistic design choices that I think were kind of ahead of where gaming was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked great, but I don't know that the Nintendo 64 hardware was powerful enough to really carry that art style through as much as they wanted it to. But the 3DS or the Wii U, I know there are some people who are thinking it might go there. But yeah, I mean, either one would be fantastic, just to really give some polish to the original vision.
As a final prediction that I'd like to hear from you guys, because we're talking about why they should do it and what was awesome about Majora's Mask, but when should they do it?
At the earliest, I would say at least this year or next year. That's my optimistic.
I would really like to see something at E3 this year. I mean, I know that Nintendo or at least last year, didn't do the traditional E3 thing, but they still did a lot of press around that time. Yeah. So I mean, I would really like to see something then. I know it's looking a lot more and more like we'll see the Zelda for the Wii U in that time frame as well. But I don't know. I have this crazy hope that, see, this is just my crazy little wishful thinking right here. I would love to see them revisit the Hero of Time Link. And kind of finish out his story. And in my awesome little world where I imagine and it happens, right? That they would do Majora's Mask 3D or HD and release it either as a bonus or alongside, or at least within a relative vicinity to this new Zelda HD, and it would be kind of like the Hero of Time collection,
That's a neat thought. That's never gonna happen.
I know.
I'm calling it.
I know.
I'm sure even Nintendo is aware of our love and demand for Majora's Mask, and they're teasing it out for us in a Link Between Worlds, and the Zelda Symphony 2. Like last time I went there, it was like the last day that they put in the concert, and they even did an encore of it. It's like, yeah, they know, and they're gonna do something.
I mean, I feel like they would not have put... and some people would say that I'm reading too much into this, but I don't think that they would have put Majora's Mask in Link's house in a Link Between Worlds if they weren't planning on following that with something. Like, unless they're just a lot more mean-spirited than I think they are.
Yeah, no, because, they've said that they wanted to do it, just not now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're sticking to that. And I also think that, they're aware that there's demand for it. But as Reggie said recently, it's not as easy as, this many people signed a petition, and therefore it's gonna sell. But I think they have their own reasons to make it, and I think they will. I just personally think it's going to be a little while until like the end of the 3DS life cycle.
Probably.
I don't know.
Which
I mean,
is-
the game, I have to believe, would in this modern age, right? I have to believe that it would sell pretty well. I mean, aside.
No, I think it's going to sell pretty well too, but I just don't think that they're going to push it out so soon because we had a Zelda gear. We had a Zelda game last year, right? And we're going to have a Zelda game very soon with the Wii U. And I think that they're just going to be like, okay, let's hold off on this Majora's Mask thing till a little bit after Zelda Wii U,
Well,
towards the end of the 3DS's life cycle, because they're probably going to take a while to figure out what they want to do for the next handheld game. So they're going to use Majora's Mask, I think, as a breather in between the recently released A Link Between Worlds and the soon-to-be released, in a year or maybe two, Zelda U.
So
Whatever is on the horizon.
So I'll put a question this way for both of you. I don't know what y'all think about this, but do you think that they're more likely to release a new 3DS Zelda title like A Link Between Worlds before they release Majora's Mask 3D, or after, or do you think they'll release a new 3DS exclusive Zelda at all?
No, I think they're probably gonna have Majora's Mask before they release another like big 3DS Zelda title, if they even do it. They might wait for the 4DS.
It goes through time as well as space.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean, the 3DS has been out for like what, 3 years now?
it's coming on 3 years, yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
that
so
long.
I mean,
And the DS lasted for about almost 8 years until it stopped. I think.
no, that's true. That's true, and I think the 3DS can last for another can probably last for another 3 years or something. That's what I expected. But it depends. You never know, and I think that they probably have a lot of other ideas that they can use the 3DS for with a Zelda game. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I do think that Majora's Mask is gonna come before the next 3DS exclusive Zelda, if there is such.
Yeah, and you have to remember that for a lot of their consoles, handhelds, and home consoles, it's not uncommon for Nintendo to only release one Zelda game per console cycle, right? Like on the Game Boy, we only ever had Link's Awakening, right?
Yeah.
On Game Boy Advance, it was just Minish Cap. On Wii, there was the port of Twilight Princess for sure, but Skyward Sword was the only one that they developed for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the handhelds, for the DS you had both, Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, but those were, the same engine, same models, a lot of the same things, kind of like with Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. So if they make A Link to the Past-esque game, then yeah, I can definitely see them releasing another one.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna go with something different, and I think they are, because I think A Link Between Worlds was a huge success.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're gonna do more of just push out almost the kind of same thing with a different storyline, unless they have some other really cool mechanic that justifies being its own game.
Yeah.
In the same kind of top-down style.
I don't know. I mean, Nintendo's been making a lot of money off of all these handheld Mario games that are essentially just kind of new spins on the classic Mario.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But they're being a lot more careful with it with Zelda. I think with the new Super Mario Brothers games, they're essentially the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The DS and the Wii versions I felt were pretty different, but since the Wii version, all the other ones have basically been the same as that, I feel. But with I don't think they're exactly going to take that route with A Link Between Worlds and Zelda. But if they did something they could make something like using the same sort of engine to kind of remake the original Legend of Zelda, but with A Link Between Worlds sort of.
Oh gosh, that'd be so cool.
Something like that, which is it's only half a remake and half a new game because it's gonna be so different anyway. I don't know.
That's true. I think that it would be a little weird for people though, even though it would have these beautiful new graphics and everything. the original Legend of Zelda is kind of a simple game, as like judging it by the Zeldas that have come after. Like we're used to a little bit of story complexity.
Yeah, no. So I think they would have to work a bit to modernize it. So it wouldn't be exactly just a remake. It would be sort of a reimagining of the original or something like that. So yeah, that about does it for this cast. I hope you've enjoyed it. And tell us what you think about Majora's Mask 3D in the comments section.
Or HD.
Or HD.
No, come on, guys. We're not gonna. No.
How about
no?
How about
no.
How about 3D HD?
No.
Or 3HD?
But the day and night counter on the Wii U gamepad. I mean,
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
right?
Yeah. No.
Yep. Ombre says no.